Where did our universe come from? It's one of the most fascinating questions that we can tackle as a species. One thing that makes this question so interesting is the fact that there are only two possible answers. Either God or Allah or some other godlike being created our universe, or a natural process created our universe. But which is it? Did God or nature create the universe that we all live in? Let's start by setting the stage. If you are a Christian or a Muslim, you believe that your God created the universe, and billions of people agree with you. More than half of the people living in the United States today believe that God created heaven and earth 6,000 years ago, just as the Bible says. The dictionary defines God as a being conceived as the perfect, omnipotent, omniscient originator and ruler of the universe. For people who believe in God and Allah, this is a no-brainer. They'll say things like, if God didn't create the universe, then where did it come from? You can't explain our universe except through faith in God. Or, it is impossible to create something out of nothing. God has always existed and He is all-powerful, so He created the universe. But are they right? Or is there some other explanation that makes far more sense? Before we begin, let me show you something. I'm assuming that you are religious, but I'm also assuming that you are an intelligent person. What your religion is proposing is that a being named God or Allah magically appeared out of nowhere, and that He then magically created the universe out of nothing. You currently have two magical steps in your thinking that no one will ever explain. If you are intelligent, this should make you uncomfortable. Magic is not a good explanation. What science proposes is that the universe has a natural, scientifically understandable origin, and that we will be able to discover this origin through theory and experimentation. You might be thinking that science won't ever explain it because it's impossible to create something out of nothing. But if you believe that, then you can't believe in God either. In your explanation, God magically appears out of nothing, and then God magically creates the universe out of nothing. Religion has twice the problem that science has, plus religion has resorted to magic to explain it. So let's give science a chance. Science has a great track record. Science has explained all kinds of things that were once mysterious. Let's start with the obvious question. If nature created the universe rather than God, then why doesn't science have an equation to explain it? It's a valid question. Right now, scientists don't know where the universe came from. However, this not knowing is completely normal for science. Science is all about discovery, and obviously science has not discovered everything yet. It may be several decades before we completely understand the origin of our universe. However, science will understand it eventually. That is certain. How do we know that it's certain? Because we can look at the history of science. Imagine that you were alive at the turn of the 20th century. It is the year 1900. Millions of people firmly believe that human beings will never fly in the air. But why do they believe that? Because humans had never flown before, and science had no understanding of or explanation for the principles of flight. The science of aerodynamics had not been discovered yet. Eventually, inventors, scientists, and engineers did come to understand the principles of flight, and then suddenly people could fly. This is completely normal for science because science discovers new things. One year we don't know something, the next year we do, and then we can apply that knowledge and build on it. Here are three other examples. Think about the concept of a galaxy and the idea that we live in one galaxy out of billions of different galaxies in the universe. The idea of galaxies is less than 100 years old. Only when telescopes became powerful enough to see them could scientists discover galaxies. Or think about DNA. In 1952, no one knew the structure of DNA or how DNA worked. But in 1953, scientists unlocked the secret, and it opened up whole new branches of biology and medicine. In 1960, if you told people that we would land on the moon within the decade, most would have laughed at you. No human being had ever been in space, much less near the moon. Landing on the moon seemed completely impossible. And yet, just 9 years later, humans took their first steps on the moon's surface. The origin of the universe will work in exactly the same way. Today we don't know where the universe came from. Then we'll make some discoveries and create the mathematics to talk about it, and we will uncover the origin of the universe. Every rational person knows that. To stand here today and say, science will never discover the origin of the universe is silly. It's the same as saying humans will never fly or humans will never decode DNA. The second thing for you to recognize is that there is not a single scientific equation that includes a factor for God. Not one. For example, think about this equation. E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. This is the equation that controls nuclear power plants, nuclear bombs, every star in the cosmos, and many other things in our universe. It is not E equals mc squared plus a random factor for God. It's E equals mc squared. There are thousands of scientific equations just like this. All of these equations tell us something important about our universe, and not one of them includes any sort of factor for God. Therefore, if you assume that we will one day create a scientific equation that looks like this, the origin of the universe equals God did it, you're being silly. But it's more than silly, it's absurd. Neither science nor nature work that way, and we all know it. There's not a single scientific example anywhere showing that any God has any effect on our universe. The idea that suddenly we will start writing scientific equations that include a God is ridiculous. The third thing to realize is that people have been ascribing wonderful powers to their gods for thousands of years. Just think about human history. People once had no idea why the sun rises or sets, so they invented imaginary sun gods to explain it. Today, scientists understand why the sun rises and sets. It has to do with the scientific principles of our planet's rotation as well as the planet's orbit around the sun. It all makes perfect sense, and it has nothing to do with any God. Today, people have no idea where the universe came from, so they've created their imaginary gods to explain it. But science will figure this question out in the same way that it figured out all the others. The fact is, your imaginary God and your imaginary Allah are just as imaginary as all the rain gods, sun gods, and fertility gods that people have ever worshipped. Nature created the universe, just like nature created our sun, our solar system, our planet's weather, and all of the life on our planet. Now that you can see where the universe came from, let's look at several common religious rebuttals. If you're thinking, I cannot imagine where the universe came from if God did not create it, then consider upgrading your imagination. Learn more about science and the scientific process. Science is far more interesting than your faith is, and science is real rather than imaginary. If you're thinking, it's impossible to create something out of nothing, therefore only God could create the universe, then again, you should learn more about science. It was once impossible for humans to fly, but now there are millions of people doing it every day. If you're thinking, our universe is so perfectly designed and only God could do that, then simply think things through. If the universe was not set up the way it is, life would not exist and we would not be here to talk about it. God had nothing to do with this. You're confusing causation with coincidence. If you're thinking, God is eternal and God created the universe and when I die I will join God in heaven, then please consider reality. Your God is imaginary. All of science and history supports me when I say that. You use the products of science every day. When you drive your car or type an email or warm up a cup of water in the microwave oven, you are using the products of the scientific process. It is not your God doing these things. This is the same scientific process that will explain where our universe came from. It is that simple and that obvious to every intelligent person who takes the time to think about it. Would you like to learn more? Please visit whywon'tgodhealamputees.com and godisimaginary.com. Thank you for your time today.